Okay, so I'll play the call right now. I'm going to play it. I'm going to break down everything I do here. That way you guys understand it. If you guys have questions about what I'm doing, ask me. So this is an example of a call with somebody who is on paper very successful. I think he was making 700 grand a year. And what you're going to see is a constant shift of power where it's like, he's trying to focus on surface. I'm trying to go deep. But what you'll see in this call is, number one, I got him to shift his focus, which then got him to change his perspective, changed his languaging. And that's why this guy bought. Okay. And this is the same way I do it. B2B, B2C, irrelevant. Okay. So as I go through this, ask questions, I'll stop it as I feel like there's something I want you guys to hear.
Can you hear me? I can hear you.
I don't
there we go. Now I can hear you. I was wondering if it was an issue.
That's right. Real quick. Yeah. Okay, cool.
Then I checked it wasn't. So tell me though, buddy, I know you had recently scheduled a call with us about like possibly getting some advanced sales training so you could make more commissions, more sales, all that jazz. How can I help?
Yeah, that's where we're at. It's the same conversation we had.
Right. So tell me, did you go through those videos that were sent to you before?
Yeah, I went through those and some other ones.
And what you like take away from you went through?
Pause. Is the tonality passive or active? Passive. So when you guys are on with a prospect and there's passive tone, you can't shift your questions. Sometimes people get uncomfortable when somebody's passive and they're like, I need to change my questions. You don't need to change your questions. You have to stick with your process. That's the definition of a system. When you guys figure out a system that works for you, you're not changing the questions. Does that make sense to everybody? But I do need to change a little bit of my principles now because I know I'm going to get some pushback from this guy.
What I take away from it, there's just lots of different information and lots of different ideas and diffusing and all kinds of cool things. But that's what I want to try to find out too. Like, what is this, like a membership? Do there different levels, or do you join in and you're part of something? Or like
Brother, you're going to be part of something, right? You ain't going to be part of nothing and get better.
Yeah. So for me in that moment, obviously it's vague, right? It's very much like a push and pull of like, well, what is it going to be? I would drop this down. If you guys are going to do a pattern interrupt, you got to do logical pattern interrupts. What I don't want for any of you to do, which many people do, is you get passive. You can't sell passively. You can sell neutrally. Neutrally selling is possible. Selling passively is not possible. Because if you sell passively, you're not calling people out on their stuff. And so if somebody's going to give you something that doesn't make sense, I'm a big believer in I can use humor to diffuse it. So this is where it depends on your personality, right? I'm a very intense person as it is. So if you can imagine, if I want to go intense on somebody, man, it's going to sound like I fucking tore their house apart. So I use humor, right? My way of humor. So in that moment, it's like, well, brother, you're obviously going to be part of something, not nothing, right? Now, me in my usual state, if it was just me being normal, I'd be like, are you an idiot? Right? But obviously I can't say that. And so when you guys are going to do pattern interrupts, this is what I mean by system. You got to find what works for you. If you're more of a serious or intense person like myself, maybe you got to do humorous pattern interrupts. But I got to bring the conversation back. By me doing a pattern interrupt, what I'm doing in that moment is I'm getting him to realize that I'm going to keep drilling down. Because if I don't pattern interrupt, and let's say he gives me that and I'm like, oh, more information, great, man. So what do you feel like you need more information on? What happens to the focus of the conversation? It doesn't go where I need it to be, does it? So I got to change his focus right now. And that's difficult with this guy, but I got to get him to shift his focus, because if I let him focus on the things he wants to focus on, I'm not going to get him to open up. Have you guys ever had somebody you sold where, let's pretend they were going through your process, but they weren't? Like they were answering it, but you could tell it was more of a job for them. That's why that shit happens, because what you're not doing is, yeah, they're going through it, but you know in your mind they're not actually going through it. And the reasoning is because you're not shifting focus. So with this guy, I want him to go through it. But what I don't want to do is have him to go through it because he has to. I want him to go through it because he's like, I want to go through this. So I have to shift his focus, which is why I'm using humor, just so everybody understands.
Yash. Crit asks, is there a reason you called him buddy?
It made me feel more confident. That's just a dumb thing. So just quick thing on that. I call people buddy because back in the day it was this big thing. If you called somebody buddy, some people are smiling in here. Europeans are like, what the fuck does that mean? But there's a thing where when you call somebody buddy, it was like it's like I'm better than you, right? Buddy. So I call people buddy at the beginning of the call. Here's my rule. When I was selling, I never wanted to enter a call feeling like I'm doing something to somebody. I didn't want to enter in feeling something. So I used to make it casual. This is another thing. Jot it down. The more casual you can be, the better at sales you are. If you can just get more casual, man, you will sell 5 times better. If you gave me a choice of, Yash, be the best sales guy in the world, but don't be casual, or be average sales guys, but have the ability to be casual with people, I would choose to be casual. If you're casual with people where they don't feel like it's a script, you're better. Many of you are saying the same things every day, right? That's what sales is, repetition. I got to say the same lines every day, but it sounds like it's the same. A good example of this is if you see a TV reporter, right? Or somebody that on the news, they say the same fucking weather reports every day, but it sounds different, right? They sound, excited. They describe it like it's a brand new discovery. When you guys are selling, you can't make it sound like it's a technique. Every time you go through that script or that system you have, it needs to sound like it's your first time saying it. Because if it doesn't sound like that, they're going to know it's just a process they're in. And if they know it, you definitely know it. Make sense? Cool.
The training is more custom, right? That was my whole point behind you going through the interviews. I wanted you to get the job. Now, based on those interviews and what you saw, again, same question we had landed on last time. What type of help do you feel like you need from Jeremy?
Everything, Yash, everything. A to Z.
What that mean?
Okay, pause. Is everything an answer? Yes or no? No. Can I focus on anything if he says everything? I don't know, bro. Reincarnate yourself. Like, I don't know what to say. But again, what is his focus right now? He's focused on getting to the pitch. He's focused on not actually going through this call right now. Do I give up or do I have to keep going? I got to keep going, man. I got to get him back on the right track. Because if I get him back on the right track, I have a chance of closing this deal. If I keep following what he focuses on, then he's not going to admit it. Focusing on it. Have any of you ever bought anything because you focused on everything? No, like you focused on one or two things that you had to fix and you bought whatever item or service or product you decided to buy. So if he tells me everything, is he going to buy because he wants to fix everything or because there's something specific? You guys understood that concept of critical thinking, right? That I was speaking about earlier. What do you guys think you're getting your prospects to do? Critically fucking think. Because if you can get your prospects to critically think, that's what makes you a different sales guy than everybody else with the same fucking script you have. If I decided to sell any of you, I could take you through the process and you would know what I'm doing, but you wouldn't know what I'm doing. That's the ability to have a process, right? Where you can implement it in a level of depth in a way that works for you that nobody else can model. So you've got to have the ability to get people on the right track.
So let's go back. So what is this? Like, that's what I want to understand. I don't know if I'm not asking the correct question. So if I do this, is this something that you custom tailor towards me? Fabulous.
Yeah, exactly right. Because understand one thing, the process of how you, let's say, going to get to 20K a month may be different from the process of somebody that's starting at 5K that wants to get to, let's say, 10K. Right? So that's why I'm asking you. You tell me what you need help with. You give me everything, rather than going to the doctor and saying, I'm in pain. But you give me what we need to work on, then you and I make a game of how we do. So you hit the target from there. Right now, that can be different things. That can mean, our virtual training platform, which I kind of touched on that interview. That can mean like daily training calls, like you saw in that interview. Because that guy, the interview you've gone through, he gets trained on a daily basis. He has daily role.
Oh, that guy, sure. That was the Sean Jones guy, right?
Yeah. So that guy, for example, like he makes 80 grand a month, right? He's getting trained on a daily basis. But like my point is, I ain't going to give you the same training that got him to 80 for you because you ain't there yet, right? So that's where I say it's more custom. So if you give me an idea of what you need help with, then you and I make a game plan of how we're going to do.
I need help with cold calling. I need help with prospecting. I need help with closing deals. I need help with all of these.
Perfect. So let's start there. What you feel like you saying to prospects in the cold calls?
So I got an angle now. That's what happened there. I got an angle where, if you guys notice with this tone, his guard dropped a bit, right? It went from, I need help with everything, knee-jerk answers. Whenever somebody answers to you guys, but it's like fast, like they're not thinking, they're just fast, that usually means one of two things. They either don't really care what you have to say, which is usually what it is, or two, they're not actually thinking about their problem. Regardless, that's not a good thing. You never really want a prospect to ever answer one of your questions in speed. What that also means then is you don't want to necessarily ask questions that are going to get knee-jerk answers, right? So you guys know the old way of selling the whole, is it black or white, yes or no, credit or debit? The issue with that way of selling is not the fact that I think it's bad, it's the fact that it causes people to give knee-jerk answers, right? Nobody actually has to think. And so there should never really be a question, I would say, in your sales script or in your process, in your system, where people answer a second later or half a second later. Go ahead.
On this point that you mentioned, you don't want your prospect to answer fast to your question.
Yeah.
Doesn't that also tie to the fact to slow pacing versus fast pacing, where fast pacing is for just eliciting an answer?
Yep. Fast pacing, when I talk quicker in my calls, it's because I'm trying to have curiosity and I'm trying to lead the conversation. That doesn't mean I necessarily want a fast pacing answer back. So if I slow my pacing down, if I start talking slower and I say like, what would that do for you personally? Then I want you to really think. But I could easily also say, so like, what's actually shifted now that's made you feel you need to make a change? Both still get you to think. One gets you to think more intentionally.
That's causing them not to move forward. Because I know we want to work on the conversions. So like what you feel like you actually do that's causing that resistance.
I have a question. So you said it needs help with everything, right? My world would have been
a bit louder so everybody can hear it.
Yeah, so it said it needs help with everything. Right? So in my world there would have been but even really what is opening up, right? That's how I would have took it. I understand that we need to get them down a specific line. And I might just be afraid of making them uncomfortable by saying, hey, stop, interjecting and
I wouldn't do, hey, stop, right? But what I would do is, let's say, like, I sell what you sell, which I know, which is the insurance thing, and somebody's like, hey, man, I need help with everything. I'll be like, meaning? If I probe into what you're saying and I get you to expand on something and you get clear about it, I'm also shifting your focus. Because everything doesn't mean anything. Everything meaning what? But if you go everything and I say meaning, well, no, I want to have a better plan for my employees. Now I've created focus. Focus is what people say to you. So if you guys are going to ask questions, the second step automatically that you got to get better at is you got to know what are the answers you want to those questions. And then we got to start framing the questions in a way that shifts people's focus. Go ahead, Simon.
Yeah, so in the intent stage, for example, when somebody says, I want to make more money, that's two services, so we have to probe to that. Is it two services that when somebody says in the intent stage that they only want to make more money?
It's surface. It's not wrong. It's surface.
Yeah.
So what I got to do there is I got to probe. I go, like, well, hey man, look, what do you mean by that? And I'll give you an example, right? If I get a knee-jerk answer, hey dude, what do you want? Hey man, I want to make more money. What I usually do is I'll slow my pace and I'll be like, okay, great. What's behind that? What do you mean you want to make more money? Because if I slow my pacing, what does that do in your mind? They can internalize the question better. If I ask a question and let's say I ask it very fast and then you answer very fast and then I ask a fast question right after, what's going to happen to them? It's like boom, 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 boom. It's ping pong. But if you go, hey man, I just want to make more money, and it's like, okay, well, what do you mean by that, man? Like, what's just so that can mean different things to different people. Like, how do you mean? I can slow you down a bit.
You want to have a specific number, or what do you want?
No, I want to know what more money means. I want them to expand upon it to make sure that that is the tangible. For most of you, quick thing. For most of you here, right? Optimize for quality, not speed. Okay? Optimize for quality, not speed. Don't try to go through the call as fast as humanly possible yet. All of you here will get better on your calls. Promise. But you're not going to get better if you skip steps. You're not going to get better if you try to go too quick. Right? If you force yourself with the behavior of going through the what would it allow you to do and you force yourself to stay there for 7 minutes, you'll create more depth and that's going to take more time, but you'll get better at it. People focus on speed too quick before they get good at something. If you get good at something, you want to maximize it to its full ability before you move on to the next subject. But if you only get average at something, or it's like decent, but it's not where it needs to be, then as you progress, it's only going to hold you back. Does that make sense to everybody? Okay? Don't optimize for speed, optimize for quality.
That jazz that you mentioned.
It's not even what I do. It's the fact that they have, it's like we were saying the other day, they have a lot of people calling them that do this.
Time out.
Okay, now I'm pissed. Long story short, I'm just like, bro, fuck's sake, I thought I had it and then I did. Okay, but okay, again, externalization, it's not even what I'm doing, right? So what do I have to do now? I got to shift his focus. Now, have I tried 2 or 3 times? Yes, but what do I have to do with his resistance? I have to match it. If I don't match it, if I keep going in this loop, he's not going to realize that he can't answer questions this way. Sometimes you're going to speak to people that are not dumb. They might not know how to answer your questions. Does that make sense? Have you guys ever spoken to a prospect that you thought was straight up autistic? You're just like, I don't understand how you don't get this. All right. So I got to set a boundary, but I got to do it in the right way. So this is like a way I think a lot of you can do it where it'll help you with matching resistance. And what I'm about to show you guys, none of you should feel afraid to do this. All of you can do this while still being respectful.
You and I can't control the other people, right? Or the industry. What we can control is people. So what do you feel like you're doing? Because that's the only thing we can fix. And then we can't fix the other people.
I don't know, but I don't know if we're connecting or not right here. So
We ain't connecting, and that's fine.
Yeah.
But I'm trying to get to the root of the problem rather than the surface of it. Right? Here's what I mean by that. If we externalize the problem, right, which is, it's the other people's problem. We can't fix the other people. The only thing we can fix is your problem. Which is why I'm asking, what do you think you're saying about it? That's causing you to get that resistance.
I don't know. Well, there's a helicopter flying over. Hold on.
Yeah, the helicopter don't even know.
So I can match resistance. Does everybody understand that? Like sometimes it's okay to match that resistance and be okay with sitting there. Everybody understand that, right? I can match resistance in that way. When you guys are role playing with each other and you guys are looking at your calls, what you want to be intentional about, and this is how I would train, is I would look at specific points in my calls that were, let's say, like 3 minutes or 2 minutes, and I would ask myself, like, how could I have done that better by shifting their focus and following these same principles, right? So with him, it's like there's a helicopter. No fucking shit, dude. But I had to shift his focus. Now, again, we're 4 minutes into the call. But if I move on, does it help me? Yes or no? No. So I got to get him focused on that. And for many of you, you just give up too quick. Again, it's a call. It's me selling. Sometimes you're going to get resistance. That's okay, but you got to get them focused on the right thing. Okay? I'm trying my best in this call to use humor, right? Which is clearly not working based on my facial expressions, but I'm trying my best to levitate it.
Anastasia asked a question. She said, when they say, I want to make more money, why don't you just go into what have you seen that makes you feel like you aren't making
Great question. So here's the thing, and this is where, again, this is a system here, not a script. If you ask somebody a question, and let's say it's like, hey man, what's the intent? Or what do you need help with? And they're like, you know, man, I want to make more money. Is that a well thought out answer? Yes or no? If they're really thinking about it and you can see that based on their facial expressions and their tone? Yes. But if as soon as you ask it, it's like, I just want to make more money. Is that different? Yes. So this is what I mean by you can't just follow a script. In 2026, especially with, call it AI and all this shit, what's going to change for salespeople is you can no longer get away with making the same mistakes you were before. That's what changes, in my opinion. What's going to change for all of you, the principles will stay the same, but again, the tactics and strategies will be different. Consumers, right, people that we sell today, it's different than, let's say, 40 years ago. 40 years ago, you weren't really getting pitched every day. Today, marketing, advertising, social media, everybody's being pitched nonstop. So how are you going to differentiate yourself? It's having that ability to keep them on the right track and get depth. This is a word all of you should remember, jot it down. Depth is not somebody telling you their whole life secrets. Depth is getting the ability to get somebody to think. Depth is when you get somebody to think, right? So like with some of the exercises we did today and we went to depth, it was getting you guys to critically think about your situation, not just fucking show you guys a sales script and be like, learn this. And so the same thing, what you guys are doing with your prospects is you're trying to create depth. But if you can get somebody to think, that creates depth. But how do you do that? You got to probe. You got to figure it out. You got to know your questions. You got to know the answers. You got to be like, well, hey man, what do you mean by that? You got to get that out of them. So when people ask me like, why shouldn't I accept this answer? It's like, you could, but it depends on how they're saying it, right? With this guy saying, this guy would have said it nicely, like, hey man, I just want more information. That's different than, yeah man, I just want more information, like he said it, right? It's just different.
I don't know. I don't know. Okay. I'm just trying to understand a little bit more about what the is.
Yeah, but man, why do you care about those men if you don't even know what you need to work on? Because if you don't know what you need to work on, it's hard for me to help you, right? And that's what we're trying to get clarity on is like, what do you think you're doing in the calls? Because then I can build a training. That way you fix what you do in the calls.
Yeah. Well, yeah, but on the flip side too, is like, I don't know who you are. I don't know who is, right? I've watched some videos on YouTube, things like the guy seems like a nice guy, probably has a good team, but I don't really know much about that. So
yeah, but brother, you got to understand this ain't about me or this is about you doing what you need to do to increase your income.
Mm-hmm.
You didn't just randomly say, oh, I think I'm tough. You reached out to something about the way you sell. Seemed to resonate in how you went.
Yeah, but I mean, again, I reached out just because it seemed like something interesting. Oh, a lot of success stories. Okay, well, great. I mean, I'm pretty.
So do you want to be one of those success stories?
Sure. Why not?
Yes or no? Which one?
Yes.
Okay, great. I got to start changing his languaging, right? Do you want to be one of them? Yes. Okay, so pattern interrupt, right? Because I got to shift his focus. Because what is the focus right now? I've seen something interesting in their success stories. I got to internalize it then and be like, okay, do you want to be one of them? Sure. Yes or no, dude? Yes. Has focus shifted now from external to internal? Yes. Am I going to have to do that probably multiple times throughout this call for this call to actually close and be effective? Yes. This isn't a one-time thing, right? When you have to re-loop and get the questions you need to answer to, it's usually not like a one-time thing you do at once. It's doing it throughout the call, but consciously doing it. Everything in this call was conscious. If you can consciously understand shifting people's focus and whatnot, you're going to be able to sell a lot more. Okay? So this isn't a technique or a tactic. It's a principle. And the point of a principle is you're going to be doing this throughout the call. And so for some of you, if you review your calls, you probably do it once or twice, right? You do a good job, you get it back on track. What happens to the rest of the call? You're not able to consistently do it. So you have to build this behavior and this habit of consistently doing this.
When you say, sure, why not? Tell that to an overweight person. Sure, why not? Whatever. Right? So if you want to be one of those success stories, okay, then we got to actually make a plan. Here's something. I have 45 minutes set aside for this call. Okay, I got a ton of other clients and a ton of other people I could be helping. I want to help you because that's the mission of this call. But if I'm going to help you, get the focus off me and just put it on you. Because you're here to get better. That way you can become successful. And I'm all about that. But I'm not going to help you become successful by not knowing what we need. This isn't about me. This isn't about commissions. I don't care about that. What I care about is you getting to where you, whether that's 20K a month, 30K a month, I don't care. So I actually want you to do some thinking. When you're making your calls, based on what you saw with those videos, because I wanted you to go through them, that way you got perspective. When you make your calls, what do you think is happening in those calls where you're not getting through your prospects? That way you fix it.
Yeah, I would say I think I go back to trying to sell.
For fuck's sake, 6 minutes in, finally we get the result. Does everybody understand that? Thumbs up, thumbs down. That's the key, man. 85% of my leads were this, because we had shifted into cold marketing, right? So it went from like warm marketing into cold marketing. So most of the people, they were just like, dude, I don't know, I just booked in, right? Very similar to this. Some of them had bigger egos than others, for sure, but most of them came in like this. And so what I realized very quickly was like, I have to shift focus. And this was the journey from 50 to 100. It was really just getting good at like, okay, if I shift their focus and I actively do this without getting annoyed, right? Because is it easy? Would any of you, raise your hands, how many of you would have gotten annoyed with this guy? Okay, great. So like, the thing is, you're going to get annoyed, but you have to have the ability to take frame and get back on track. And so with this guy, it took 6 minutes to get to the outcome. This is the difference between speed and quality. Imagine if in my mind, it was like, I want to maintain quality, so I tried moving on too quick. I wouldn't have got the depth. So I don't want any of you here, if optimizing for speed means you miss quality, don't do it. Always optimize for quality. Because if you focus on quality and you train the behavior of your sales training and your sales style to be like, I need to get the answers I need, I don't move on until then, you'll force yourself to get better over time. But if you train yourself that, okay, because I want to have a fast call or I want to go through this quick, I'm not going to move on, I'm going to keep like pushing it back, then you're not going to be able to get anywhere. Clear to everybody? So you want to optimize for quality, not speed. And so sometimes you have to reloop, but I have to keep shifting focus. The focus with this guy is finally shifted on, it's my yada, yada, yada. But if the focus wasn't that, imagine if the call was built upon the gap of, I want more information. Just wouldn't have gone anywhere. So I'll explain this to you in an analogy. If I have a friend or if I'm looking to change something and like my first interaction with them is, let's say I have an overweight friend and my first interaction is like, bitch, get the fuck up. That doesn't motivate somebody to do anything. Sometimes it might, but I'm externally pushing them. But if I build up where I start off nicely, where I'm like, hey dude, we should make some changes. And then I keep building up my intensity, it's justifiable. In sales, the questions you ask and how you run a call, you need to justify that. You have to justify the questions and the way you handle a call. You can't just come into a call running a fucking call. Does that make sense? You got to justify your actions. So if I would have gone right to that, it would have been like, oh, what the fuck, bro? I'm just trying to seek more information. But because every time I asked new questions, I added more context. I made it more specific. So when he gave me that resistance, I was able to match it. But he wasn't giving me as much resistance initially. So if I would have tried like overdoing it the way I did towards the end, it would have turned him off. And then even the answer he would have given me would have been because he felt like it's the answer I wanted to hear and not what he actually felt. I'll tell you what I would have done differently. If I could go back in time in this call, I would have verbal cued more. So for those of you who don't know what verbal cueing is like, it's a principle. It's the ability to control a conversation where while somebody's speaking, you're going like, uh-huh, right. Okay, man, sure. And what do you mean by that? So it helps you with two things. You have more control over the call because it's easier to interrupt. But the second thing is you're able to lead the conversation better, which is the point. The prospect feels like you're paying attention. If I could go back in time in this call with what I know today, I would have verbal cued more. And I would have simply asked my questions quicker. But I also had to give him the space to get his full answer out, which then created the depth in the conversation. Because I knew in my mind, if I try like bulldozing him, that might work, but he's not going to buy. His ego, like he thinks he's got it. But if I get him to really internalize it, I can get him across the line. Make sense? Yeah.
Like, I want to learn more. It's like the most important thing is shifting and more like I guess buying state, like buying language. Do you know
Okay, so tell me what you should sell real quick.
crypto education?
You sell crypto education.
Yeah.
Now, give me an example of when you say people are curious, what does that mean?
Someone just say, I'm just trying to learn more about what you guys do.
Okay, so the focus is what?
Us.
Okay, so if you're going to put it back on them, what could you say?
Yeah, sure. Like what you I would go into their current investments they have and tell
But
them,
how do you know that's my goal besides assuming it?
I guess that's right. Yeah.
Okay, so how could you shift that then to putting the focus back on me as the prospect?
What was you looking to get out of crypto?
Okay, yeah, that could be one thing. So like curiosity is not why somebody buys. Curiosity is commodity. You can't get somebody to buy because they're curious. Anybody that's, I'm not curious about crypto. I could give a fuck less. I hate crypto, right? As an example. So I'll never opt into something I'm curious about. But now if I really need to do something, then I'm definitely going to look into it. So you have to reframe that, if you will. You have to pattern interrupt it. You have to get the focus on why they actually opted in. And then your goal is to take that thing and then make it bigger. All you're doing in a sales call is you're taking what somebody has given you and you're making it bigger and bigger and bigger. You're creating more depth, right? So just like when you go to the gym and you're in a workout, it gets harder and harder, right? As you go longer and longer, it forces you to exhaust your energy. In a sales call, the good way I think all of you can look at it is I'm taking what somebody's giving me and I'm expanding upon it. So if somebody gives it to you and you're like, well, hey man, like that makes sense. I guess tell me like, what was kind of your main intent about possibly even like looking into crypto? And they're like, oh man, it just looked interesting. Ah, great man, everything looks interesting. What about for you? And it's like, well, you know, I might want to get into it. I'm not sure, but it's just, well, what made you even look into it if you were to get into it? Well, it's because, I'll give you guys an example. When I did outbound and I used to call people that were like 4 months old, they'd be like, I don't remember filling anything out. I'm like, no stress, man. I'll fix our system. Why would you have opted into this if you had? Well, because of this reason, because of that reason, because of this. Because what does that cause? I shifted the focus from I don't remember to why would you have done it and what happened to the languaging. Changed. Then they said, well, I might have opted into it because of this reason or that reason. Really? Is that relevant for you? Okay, but in what way? How so? I get the depth through that. So for you, if you can shift the focus, then it starts becoming your thing. But what you got to do then is you got to get into the habit and the behavior of you're not settling for it's curious. Because a lot of times what's probably happening, you can correct me if I'm wrong, is because you accept that answer, it's now an acceptable answer. And then the behavior is you let that go. So then let's say you're training to get better at something at the end of the call when in reality it's like, fuck that, let's fix the beginning. Because if you train on how do I get more sets, vague. But what if all you trained on was getting more depth in the initial part of your call?
Yeah, I think it's the big thing is that shifting that focus, because that really just puts it onto them, and that's more of a thing. Yeah, like because I feel like especially on my thing, I get inbound calls, so it's like people booking onto the calendar. So it's more of a thing where it's just like they've booked onto the call. So I guess what kind of analogy would you use? It's like the one I like to use is like obviously you're not going to kind of go into a butcher to kind of sniff the meats, right? In terms of like if you're going to go and book a call. So it's just like for you, what would you kind of say to someone in terms of like, oh yeah, I'm just curious, like I just want to see what you guys do. I get that first frame part, but I feel like analogies can really help.
So you use that analogy, the butcher analogy?
I've used it before, yeah.
Well, that wouldn't probably make sense to do with somebody that's not in sales.
Sorry?
So you use that analogy about the butcher, right? And
Yeah.
how like, what would you, so you ask them, like, what would you say to somebody? You'll say that to them?
No, I'm saying like
Okay.
obviously if someone's booked a call, right?
Yeah.
It's just like you're not gonna go into the butcher to sniff the meats, right? Like essentially if you're going in there. That's what I'm saying. In terms of analogies,
Okay.
it's like
It's not a good one, by the way. We need to we'll change that.
Yeah.
I get your
That's what I was
saying,
asking
right?
you. Like.
I go into places and don't buy. I definitely do that. But okay, I get your point. And so like that's what we'll practice on today.
Yeah.
So for you, let me ask you guys this. Let's see if you're paying attention. What is the behavior he has to get better at from a training standpoint? What do you guys think? Shout it out. Relooping, what else? Shifting focus, correct. But what would be the best way for him to train if he's going to get better at that? Probing, maybe. What else? Changing languaging. Okay, those are tactics. Give me the behavior. What? Maybe a reframe. What's the behavior though? I want the behavior. Huh? That's the result. What's the behavior? Conviction is a feeling. It's not a behavior. Mirror exercises. If for the next 30 days, he spends 30 minutes a day role playing and you role play with somebody that gives you a bunch of resistance and the behavior you train is the ability to reloop and keep going back and forth, kind of like what I did with Victor, but you do that every day, 30 minutes a day for the next month, you're going to get better at that shit over time. But if you role play getting better at something at the end of the call when the first part of the call is not where it needs to be, you haven't fixed the problem. You haven't fixed the delta.
No, definitely.
You get the difference.
Yeah.
Okay, so your training thing, just based on what you just told me, and I would write this down for you, just get better at the beginning, first 30 seconds of the call, first minute. And if that takes you a week, great. If it takes you 3 weeks, great. If it takes you a month, no problem. Because if you get a better depth answer there and the focus is on the right thing, the rest of the call is smoother. But if the focus isn't on the right thing, the rest of the call is fucked. There's little things you guys can do to get better at sales without necessarily having to change everything you guys are doing. Little things. Okay? Is it working or still not? Okay, cool. Everybody understand that? Yeah? Okay, cool. I'll do like 10, 15 more minutes here.
What we have versus listening to trying to find the problem that they're looking for to solve.
So more like product push type chats with solution. Do you think, I think I know the answer to this, but I'd rather ask, do you think doing more product pushing is kind of like impacting your ability to overcome their objections when they do start growing?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's more
How so?
product pushing, but then that puts them right in that defense mode, right away, even whether it's a
Defense mode?
cold call or even if they've reached out on their website or it's even a warm
Right.
introduction or something.
How do you mean by defense? Like everybody has their own definition of that. How you mean by it?
By watching some of the videos.
What is he doing right now? I'm probing, and what is he fucking doing? It's jackass, man. Brings it right back to the fact that the focus is, well, I've seen your videos. But if I accept that, what do you guys think is going to end up happening? Then it's, oh, well, you guys seem like you guys have something better, so maybe it works for me, but do I feel like it's my problem? No. Jeremy, go ahead.
Why you jump there? Questions and did not too true or something like that.
Good question. Love that question. So why did I change the script here? Because it took 6 minutes for me to get this. I already got him where I wanted. So here's what went through my mind, my thought pattern, my system. Getting him to give me the tangible took 6 minutes of re-looping until I finally got it. So now that I got it, I want to start expanding onto it, because if I start asking him what's his approach and whatnot, frankly, he's already told me that it's not working. So all I want to do now is expand and make it bigger. I don't want to go backwards on like what has led up to that problem, because I finally got him to admit that there is a problem. If you guys try to follow a script, but you don't understand the system behind the script, then it's like, if I would have gone down a situation like, hey man, what do you currently do right now? Dude, God knows where this guy would have gone next. It would have been like, well, I don't do it. It was a book I was given when I was 5 years old. Like, God knows where he would have gone. right? But because I got the problem, I was like, great, thought pattern, I got what I needed, time to go into probing, right? Now, again, he's externalizing again, though, so let's continue watching where it goes.
From you guys that I could just see that I've been doing for the last 20 years, a lot of the same things. A lot of,
I've been there too.
what's their name? What's this? How can I help you? This is what we have. This is why we're good at what we do. A lot of things like that. A lot of, you know, a lot of things that they tend to work a lot of the time, but not all the time.
Do they?
Right. So,
I mean, do they?
That's part of it too. It's like, oh, okay, wow. I never realized that was part of other sales training you get, and even not even specific sales training, just being around people and having experience and doing things.
Okay, so this is one thing, okay? If I could go back in time, what would I have done differently on this call? How many objections has he just given to himself in the past, like 30 seconds, right? I don't know sales training was a thing. I have things that work most of the time. Anytime you say anything in a call, the prospect says anything, always remember this. It's either going to positively help you with somebody making a change or negatively affect you. There's nothing in between. Has he given himself more objections right now? Yes or no? Yes. Do I have more work to do, unfortunately? Yes. What would have been a better way to handle this? Verbal cue. If I would have been like, right. Do they though? And I would have interrupted more, respectfully, but I would have interrupted him about him, that would have been the right way to handle it. But because I didn't do that, now I got extra work I have to do.
Might be excited for what you have.
Yep.
Twice, because he said, "Oh, what I'm doing is kind of working." You asked him twice. What he's saying, it's kind of working, and you say, "Do they?" Like, does that work though? And he kind of just continued talking. You didn't interrupt him again. You let him finish. Is there a reason for that? Why not just like?
I should have interrupted him more. Correct.
Oh, you should have gone again.
I should have done more. So when I look back on this call, when you guys analyze your own calls, like when I analyze my own calls, man, I'm like, dude, I messed up on like 7 things. But like when I reviewed this call, like when I had done it, whatever long ago it was, that's what I looked at. I was like, okay, fuck, I could have done this there. So what I should have done, man, was you're right. I should have interrupted and been like, does it though? I should have done it again. Setting call or closing call, irrelevant. Go ahead.
Do you review all of your calls? Like what kind of frequency do you have regards to that?
Define frequency for me.
Is it every call you do, or is it specifically the bad calls, the more good calls?
I review 80% of all my calls, just so you guys know. Okay? 80% of all my calls I do review. And the reason I review them is this is the type of stuff I pick up on. I pick up on stuff like this, and that's how I make it better, right? So if you guys aren't reviewing your own calls, you're not going to know how to get better. But again, model, repetition, adapt. Some of you might not know what's wrong in your call, so you got to get feedback. Sure, but when you're reviewing your calls, this is what I pick up on. So when I reviewed this call, I was like, I should have probably said something like, is it though, man? And maybe smiled a bit with a bit of humor, got him to get his guard down and done it like that. That's what I took away from it. But if I didn't verbal cue enough, did I verbal cue enough here? Clearly not. Principles never change. Whenever I mess up a call, I'm not like, why did the person didn't buy? Fear. What was the principle I missed? That's the question. Because if I fix the principle, calls get better. If I fix the tactic, next call, it'll be a new reason of why they don't buy.
Exactly right. Well, there's a big difference between I need to get better and I want to. Right? The salespeople who want to get better, they do the old way stuff. Kind of like you heard talk about, like you've been doing. And it works comparatively well. But then there's a big difference between I need to get better, and to do that, I need a different approach. That's 2 different things, right? He needed to get better. That's why he made a lot of salespeople want to get better, which is why they say average. So for you though, just so I see the rationale, but why you even wanting to get more kind of advanced sales training so you get better at your skills, rather than you just make more dials? Why get the skills rather than just ramping up the volume and going hard on the pain like you've done for the past 20 years?
I'd rather work smarter than longer or harder. I'd rather, if I have 10 opportunities, I'd like to be able to close, 8 of them, not 1 of them. Things like that.
Right.
That's
all efficiency. If I was to put it in the
efficiency.
And so what you decide?
You guys hear his tone? Very passive still. What do I have to do now? I got to crank it up. Because have I created, but did you guys notice how many times are we shifting his focus? Man, that was probably like 5, 10 times, right? Shifting his focus. Then he changes his perspective. Then he goes right back into that old way of thinking. Then I have to change the words. So it's a constant game. There's no such thing as the concept in sales of like, I got him. There's no such thing. The only way you so-called got it or you got the result is when they move forward with the product or service you sell. But the only way you can do that is by constantly shifting the focus of somebody. Okay? So you guys are going to see more of it now. We're going to review this section. I'm going to give you guys a quick break. Energy feeling good? Quick thumbs up, thumbs down. Energy feeling good? You guys sure? Okay, cool.
Free content and company training, what you've done in the past about possibly getting more advanced training. That way you got more efficient.
I really haven't done any training for a long time.
Why not?
You get busy working and you get busy raising two kids that are finally now heading off to college.
That could be trouble.
I have more time on my hands.
No, I mean, between us, man, the way I look at time is like tomato time. You know what I mean? It's like there are a lot of people that don't have time to make time. Between us and like off the record. What actually prevented you in the past, even the past year or two, from getting more advanced training, hit the income hit?
I didn't feel like I needed it because I've been successful in what I've done. And
How you mean successful?
I make good money and
Good money?
successful in the things that I've sold before. Yeah.
Well, what do you mean good money? Just so
Good.
I see what good money is.
I mean, I don't know, good enough money.
What does that mean? What do you define as good enough money?
Well, let's go back to the root question. You asked me why I haven't reached out for other sales.
You guys probe into sometimes people's like beliefs, they'll realize how dumb it is, right? So sometimes when you probe deep enough, it'll be like, oh, so when somebody ever tells me I make good money, I don't care who it is, I'll be like, what does that mean? Oh, well, like, I just make good money. I'm like, yeah, well, what does that mean? How do you define good money, bad money, great money, successful, unsuccessful? Those are all just labels or shit we say. But what does that actually mean at the end of the day? It doesn't mean anything. So like for all of you, jot it down. Challenge people's beliefs, don't challenge them. If you guys challenge people's beliefs, you challenge what they say, you will fundamentally create strong proximity in a conversation. I'll give you guys an example. Have you guys ever bought something before from somebody because like something expensive, let's not even talk about something cheap, but have you guys ever bought something from somebody because you respected somebody? You're like, I respect this person or the way they've sold me, so that's why you bought it? Probably all bought something like that. Have you guys bought something really expensive from somebody you didn't really respect that you thought was a BITCH? Probably not. When you guys call people out on their bullshit, what do you think that creates in the prospect's mind if you do it effectively, responsibly, respectfully? It's good resistance because I respect you. Why do I respect Joe as an example? It's because he's not afraid to say, go to fucking bed, bro. Right? He's not afraid to say, get your shit together. So respect is created when there's truth. Jot it down. Respect is created when there's truth. One thing I learned when I was in that 3-month span of like trying to learn sales, what I realized was respect is created when there's truth. But you can't have truth if there's no respect. What do you guys think some of the top lawyers, some of the top therapists do in the world is they demand the truth, which then demands respect. And so when you guys are probing and you're challenging people on stuff that doesn't make sense, you're gaining respect because you're getting them to justify shit and then it's like, oh, that doesn't make sense. Now, it doesn't mean the prospect is going to be like, dude, thank you for calling me out on that. That makes a lot of sense, right? But then it'll be the uncomfortable laugh of, haha, and then you can continue leading the conversation. But you got to call people out respectfully. Go ahead.
What would be an example for challenging them other than their belief?
Challenging him in this moment would have been, for example, something like, well, do you think you're making good money? Like if I would have done something like that where it's like, hey man, do you think you're making good money? Or like, you're making good money? But I was like, well, what do you mean by good enough money? I don't want to challenge somebody as a person. That's offensive. But if I challenge what you're saying and your belief, you can't fucking get mad at me for that. And when I can challenge your languaging, if I challenge somebody's languaging, what do you think ends up happening? They change their languaging. When I challenge somebody's languaging and it doesn't make sense, you think this guy's going to say good money again? After this, he knows what's next, right? 3 more probes. What do you mean by good money? So when I challenge somebody's belief effectively, I can get them to like change the languaging. And so for example, am I shifting his focus by challenging him on that? Yes. Is it changing the way he's looking at a situation? It went from, yeah, I'm successful to, I don't know, I guess enough. And then what is it changing? His languaging.
I haven't. And now I am. And I feel like I'm being berated.
Do you know why?
I'm saying I haven't, right?
Do you want to know why though?
But now I'm like, okay, well, hey, maybe how I've been doing things the last 20 years isn't the best. So my eyes are open to look at something.
What was the key word? Maybe.
Maybe.
Help me out.
Maybe.
Well, not even maybe, but yeah. So
Here's what I say. Can I make a suggestion? Because I'll explain why I harp on this, right? I'm a big believer that there's a big difference between thinking like the
Pause. Why did I take a beat? And I slowed down and I didn't continue talking, but I took a beat. The beat was taken because now I'm about to do like an intervention. Now I'm about to do a reframe. Now I'm about to change his focus. And so I took a beat because I wanted his mind to calm down and be like, I need to listen to what he's about to say. That's why I took a beat in that moment. That was very intentional.
20, 30K won't die.
Yeah. Okay. So I'll show you guys real quick again.
Here's what I say.
isn't the best. So my eyes are open to look at something, different.
Maybe.
Help me out.
Maybe.
Well, not even maybe, but yeah. So
Here's what I say. Can I make a suggestion? Because I'll explain why I harp on this, right?
B. When I look like I'm thinking, what do you think he's doing? He's thinking about what? What am I about to say? So now it makes him a little bit more conscious on what I'm going to say. What's prevented him has been one time one family, right? So he said his family, but then notice one thing, when he talked about his kids, he also said, yeah, but they're grown up now. So if I keep saying well, your kids, it's going to trigger him. So that's why I have to change tactic. Tactics can change in a call. Principles don't change. So I have to change my tactic a bit because but I still have to get the point across, don't I? I still have to get the point across to him that like bullshit, but I got to do that more effectively.
I'm a big believer that there's a big difference between thinking like the, whatever, 20, 30K a month guy and actually like understanding and doing what it takes to have the skill set to be that guy. Like I can think I'm that guy all I want, but until I understand that I take the actions necessary to become that guy. I'll give you an example, right? Like what do you want to be? Let's say you got a better skill set. You got better at not being kind of the old product pushing, but you got the new model. So what is it you want to make? Carl.
As in dollar wise?
Dollar wise, yeah.
Oh, what would I like to make?
What do you want to make?
Why do I re-emphasize what do you want to make? Language, right? So he says, well, what would I like to make? No, what do you want to make? I'm not using the word need because he's an older guy. So what do you need to make? Well, I don't need to make anything. That would trigger him. What do you want to make? Languaging. It makes a very big difference because subconsciously he's going to hear the word want, not like. That's the key.
Very open-ended question, but I'd like to make $1 million a year.
How far are you from $1 million a year, right?
About short 800.
Okay, so you make about 200K a year. You want to get to millions, so that's 5 extra. Now, how long have you been making 200K? Past 2 years, 5 years, 10 years? How long?
Oh, for most of the last 20 years.
Let's just say 20, just to be like conservative, like be realistic. So like everything you've done in the past 20 years, man, like your mindset, your skill set, all that stuff combined is what's got you to, let's say, 200K a year. It's not what's going to get you to win. Otherwise, it already.
Sure, yeah.
And the issue with a lot of salespeople, man, and the big difference between wanting to make a change, needing to change the same way you have to help your prospects, is if you just want to make $1 million a year, you're not going to do it because I'm sure you've wanted it. So when you need it, they use it. And the difference between making $1 million a year is not did you have to. It's the fact we didn't make time. Because between us, is it worth keeping the same mindset and skill set that got you here but won't get you there?
No, I mean, that's why we're having this conversation. That's why we're having this conversation.
Yeah, but why not?
Why not what?
Have the same mentality and skill set.
I've had the same mentality and skill set. I could keep doing the same thing I've been doing. But I'm here having a conversation with you because I'd like to see what different skill sets there are out there, how I can apply it, how I can become better at what I'm doing. And
I want you guys to notice the difference between at the beginning of the call, I want more fucking information, to now I'm open to getting my skill sets better and improving myself, right? What is that a shift? It shifted his focus, which then did what? It shifted his perspective, which then is shifting what he says. But look at how much effort and conscious thinking it took to get there. Do you guys get the power of it, right? When you really do this and you understand this. And guess what? This takes time to learn, more importantly, perfect. It takes time.
What was that shift for you? Like what shifted that made you actually want to get more mainstream to acquire that skill set so you make more?
The shift, it might not be an answer that you've heard before, but my shift was simply the fact now that I had kids at home and they're gone, right? So I don't have my kids, they're back from college. They both go back to college in 4 days. They'll go back to school, but I don't have kids at home anymore. And that's
why am I letting him talk here? Because he is what? Pre-handling his own objection. So if you're going to tell me it's because of the kids you didn't do before, justify to me now why the kids are out of the equation. So that's why I'm not interrupting him. I'm letting him continue with it. Part of what makes you really good at sales, I think, is having the ability of knowing when to talk and when to shut up. And like this is a perfect example of a moment where it's like there's no point of talking. He's doing my job for me, so I just need to let it keep going.
Whether you want to say it freed up my time or not, I'm hitting these different sections of your life. Now, kids out of the house, empty nester, and okay, well, how can I do things to better myself? Because I've spent so much time bettering my kids.
Now we got the depth. It went from more information to I want to better myself to I've bettered my kids, but what has he not done? He's not bettered himself. How many of you know the 6 human needs concept in the portal? Just real quick, how many of you know it? How many of you don't? Okay, for those of you who don't know it, don't worry. I'm going to be going very deep on it tomorrow, right? What need do you guys think he's trying to meet right now? Imagine making the same amount of money for 20 years. Anybody would probably want to grow, feel like they're progressing. Rightfully so. As a father, what did he do? He put it all on his kids, not himself. So even though he came in with this personality and he was like, I don't know what I need help with, what does he really need? What does he really value? It's growth. But how long did it take to get it out of him? It took a minute, but is it out now? Is that leverage now? Have I shifted his focus? Has it changed how he looks at his perspective from information to I need to better myself. I want to kind of better myself now rather than just my kids. Is his words different? Are the actions going to be different now? Ideally, yes. This is how you get less objections, by the way. How do you get better at pre-handling objections? It's not a magic bullet or a magic script or a magic frame. It's constantly throughout the call tweaking the focus. Because I tweak the focus, I change your perspective. I change your perspective, I change your words. And then what is the common need every human being has? I don't want to feel incongruent with what I say I am or who I say I am. So is he going to want to go against what he just told me, which is like, I want to focus on myself? He can. What's the likelihood? If somebody in this room says, I'm going to go to the gym tonight, and you don't go, what do you think is going to happen tomorrow if I ask you in front of everybody, did you go to the gym, and you say no? You know you're going to have embarrassment. So people will do whatever it takes to meet their needs, period. His need for growth, he will do whatever it takes. Sometimes people lie. How many of you looked at your delta and were like, I've been bullshitting myself? Did you bullshit yourself because that was on purpose or because you were meeting your need of maybe certainty? So he's met his need by saying it's because of the kids. Now, here's the thing. Can I argue with him about that? Yes, but has he pre-handled it? Yes. So I don't need to focus on that.
And they're,
I get it. I can see that.
and they're feeding and cooking them and doing all that stuff, right? So now I'm like, okay, let's take now all that time. I don't know. Let's say that's just 50 hours a week before with kids.
Right.
What can I do for myself now? I can go to the gym 50 more hours, get buffed, or
I wouldn't do that, man. You'll get on the roids real quick.
I can work on my golf game more and do that stuff. But or I can work on.
You guys notice how now he's making jokes? Why? Because he's uncomfortable. He just finally dropped the guard and says, I can do more. And, I could go to the gym. I could do this. But he's uncomfortable because it's the first time he's fucking opened up. That's the difference between you saying the same question like every other salesperson vs getting somebody to open up. That's the fucking difference. The difference between that screenshot of my numbers wasn't just ability or looks or personality or charisma. It was the depth. Because when you create more depth out of people, people buy more. But if I don't create depth out of somebody and I sound like everybody else legitimately, then why would they buy from me?
Maybe some other training. So that's really,
and here's why I asked you.
Tons of answers, but that's my answer. I'm like, hey, I'm out. Okay, I'm 55 years old. I'm at the last part of my life, and I want to work another 15 years and then be done. So maybe if I can get better for these next 15 years, then great.
Yeah, well, understand one thing. Here's why I ask you, right? Is like the biggest thing that I need, and like you can kind of see it in the interviews and whatnot, is like I need leverage, right? So like I need a big enough target and a big enough leverage point that can help you get there. Like I used to be in the fitness industry, and whenever somebody was only like 10 pounds overweight, I used to hate those clients because and they would pay me a lot of money, 5-10 grand, but I never had the leverage to be like, okay, man, I can get you an outcome. But when I met somebody that was 100 pounds overweight, I had all the leverage. And I realized one thing: if we're gonna make $1 million, we can't just want to do that because the whole fucking world wants to make $1 million. It's the very few people that need to make that money actually make that, right? So tell me one thing: like you making $1 million, and don't be surface level here, man, because I ain't gonna exception. What did it allow you to do making? Like, what actually makes it worth it, man? Making that type of income.
What would make it worth it? What makes it worth it to me to make the type of income?
Yeah, like what does it allow you to do? Because like if I put Usain Bolt on a running line, I put a golden medal, the dude will run fast. I put a line behind it, he'll run faster. Why? Because success is greater, the consequences of failing are far greater for human beings.
And you don't want to get eaten.
Exactly right. So I think you have to sort of create both. Because if you only create success and you never consider failure, then you won't have any motivation. Vice versa, you only have success, you don't have failure, you'll just live a shit quality of life. So like, what is your golden medal that makes it worthwhile making $1 million that'll give you and I the leverage for you to focus on yourself now and kind of make that money?
Mm-hmm. I mean, to me, it's really about putting enough money away where I don't.
Why do you guys think I ended the context of the question with like focus on yourself now? Because that was the leverage. Because here's what I realized in that call. And when I was taking the call, I still remember it. If I kept doing what would it allow you to do, it would have been like, I don't know. But if I said like, hey man, what does it allow you to do now that you can really like focus on yourself? If I could have gone back in time, I would have slowed my pacing down big time. I talked way too fast back then. This is one thing, jot it down. As the call goes longer and longer, the context has to get more and more specific. If the context of the conversation is vague, people will listen, but they won't internalize. And so the example I can give you, it's kind of like having a partner, right? If any of you have a girlfriend, whatever it is, if you say, oh, I know she likes animals, right? So if somebody says like, what is your girlfriend like? And you go, she likes animals. She likes the color black. VS, if you're like, she likes this, she likes this, she likes that, she likes her omelet cut this way, the bread this way, there's depth. What does that depth usually create? Oh, he actually listens. So just like in a sales call, man, if you have context, but the context is vague and it stays the same throughout the call, how do you expect the answers to get depth? You're not. But if I make it more specific and I get more depth, what do you think happens to the urgency and the feeling as they're answering the questions? It gets higher, okay? So when you guys are in calls, you have to add context. By adding that context of like, what does it allow you to do being able to focus on you? Now it's like he's internalized it to where it's about him. And that's why he gives a personal answer.
There's a certain amount of dollars made per year. That's great to keep your lifestyle. I'm not looking for a lifestyle. I'm not having a Ferrari. I'm not looking for, that's not the.
Another thing, he values growth. Does he value a Ferrari and a house? No. But is that okay? Yes. If I sell somebody on what their need is, it doesn't matter whether it's my need or not. It's what their need is. Does everybody understand that? The issue with many salespeople is we try selling people on shit we value or we think they should value, rather than selling them on what they value. That's where this concept of what people focus on, because it's like, one thing I would always get frustrated with when I was, like a full-time sales guy was like, I never had, I didn't have a lot of friends, right, when I was selling, because I had this big goal of making a certain amount of money. Everybody else was happy. And so I became very antisocial. I didn't spend a lot of time with people, because every time I did, it was like Yash, you're doing good enough, or, oh, dude, we're making enough money. And I'd always be like, how do you think that way? But it's just because we value things differently. That's all it was. You valued, let's say, convenience and being able to sleep and being able to enjoy your life. I valued growth. So for this guy, he doesn't value the necessarily the significance, does he? What he values is growth. And so if everybody here got better at selling people based on what they value, you're going to sell a lot more people. But if you try to sell everybody in one way, so like the BizOp example you were giving me, right? If you try to sell everybody on just making more money, not everybody you speak to just wants to make more money. But more importantly, the reasoning of why they want to make more money is different. And on a setting call, you're not going to go deep into that like I am now, but you still got to go deep enough. Does everybody see the difference? The reason why everybody in the industry sounds the same right now is because everybody is just copying rather than creating their own fucking system out of it. That's the fucking problem, man. Everybody sounds the same today. It's the same fucking script put in different sequences with a new title. Instead of for this company, it's that company, different logos, same script. But if you guys can create depth out of it, that's what will make the difference. Clear? Let's keep going.
I'm going to make money. I would like to make more money, and we can, if by coaching and working with you guys, I could double my income or maybe even triple my income, I'd be ecstatic about that type of thing if I could even do that.
Well, why do you need to make more money though if you want to keep the same lifestyle? Just out of curiosity.
I got to challenge people on shit, right? So right now, onus is on him, but I got to challenge him because what do I need to create? Depth. So I need him to think.
As you probably are aware, every single day and every single year, things cost more. And you got to keep putting more and more away. And we live longer, right? And,
what's the solution?
And I'm not a trust fund kid. And I hope to live to 90, 95 years old. And I don't want to be a burden to my children. So I'd like to put away enough dollars so that I don't have to worry about those things in that part of my life. So
yeah, that's fair, man. It's funny. I feel the same thing. Like, hey man, everything costs more every year. Like, yeah, you know what's funny though? I was like, what? He's like, you can also make more money every year if you want. I was
sure.
Like, you got it. So how much money do you want in the bank where like you would have enough money? So how much would that be?
How much would I?
Yeah, like how much do you actually want?
How much do I want to get paid a year, or how much do I want when in the 10 years from now?
Yeah, let's say like what do you want in the bank where you would like what you said earlier, right? Your words, like well, you don't need to worry about money. Like how much do you actually want in the bank where you wouldn't have?
Go ahead.
Is there a reason why you're talking super fast?
Because I need to speed it up a bit, right? Because what's happening right now is he's beating around the bush a little bit. So great question. He's beating around the bush a little bit because like now we're talking, money is a very taboo topic for most people. So he's beating around the bush a bit because it's taboo. I need him to give me a number because if he gives me a number, it's real. If I keep letting him bullshit with me, which is I need to make more money, this and that, I don't have depth and I'm trying to keep depth right now. So if I speed up my pacing, I'm curious and casual, then it seems normal. If I try to go slow and I'm like, how much would you need? It's going to be a bit weird.
Why don't you frame the question as asking for more specific details? Like, give me a specific number on the question.
Great question. So his question was, why don't I ask it to him, like, give me a specific number? Because then he's going to know it's a technique.
Okay.
So I have done so much work to get his guard down. And this is where languaging is power. Like what I say about, like you guys have noticed throughout the call, I use the word want, not like, because I'm trying to change it little by little. If I try to say, give me one specific number, then I'm forcing it. With a guy like this, he's not going to take that very well. He'll give me a knee-jerk answer. What I've been able to do is I've got him from not wanting to really be on the call and do it his way to actually going through the call and actually engaging with it. That's the hardest thing is to get somebody to engage with this shit. So I really want him to come to the decision, but I have to also speed up my pacing now because I'm like, dude, we're 17 minutes in. Like I need to get to pitch. Like I need to hurry up.
Okay, and noticing that it is a technique, can it be beneficial to make an example on how he can handle that type of prospects also?
How he can handle that type of income, you're saying?
Of prospects. he told earlier on the call that he was struggling with.
Yeah. Okay. So your question is, could I have done some sort of frame that got him to own up, right?
Yes.
Type in a way. Okay. Here's the thing, and this is something I learned from Jeremy. It's something I've always like internalized, which is this: life is about getting what you want, not proving a point. Life is about getting what you want, not proving a point. It's something me and Lou talk about often, which is this: could I have gone way harder on this guy and done this and that and the frame you're talking about? Yeah, I could have, but that's me proving a point. What do I really want? I want him to open up and actually tell me what he wants. I want him to come to the decision, which is this is how much money I need. If I tell him, tell me the specific amount of money you want, he might say, but he's saying it because I commanded him to do it. If I get him to actually make that decision, that's far more powerful. So what's happening right now is what is he doing right now? Just so you, what's the word? What's he doing right now? What am I forcing him to do? Critically thinking about his shit. Go ahead.
You already asked before with the reframe after what prevented you of how much you wanted to make, which was 1 million. So we already spoke about the numbers. And now again, you're asking how much you want to make, but didn't he already say 1 million? I'm kind of confused on that part.
Why do you think I had him say it again?
Because he was saying, I was like, I need a number that I'm comfortable with. That was his answer. But I'm thinking, but he already said 1 million, that's probably what he's going to be comfortable with.
Because his tone and pacing wasn't there. The way he said it was casual. The way he said it the second time was there. It went from, yeah, I mean, if I could make 1 million to, I'd feel comfortable with 1 million. So I had to clarify if that was actually the goal.
So you felt just when he said the million the first time, did you already have a feeling of, I'm going to have to probably ask you about this later?
Yeah.
But you kind of went on anyways and didn't put too much importance on there.
You know, one thing that I think is really cool for all of you guys to think about? Imagine getting so good at your process that even though you hear certain objections, you know the rest of your questions will handle them. So when I understood this, and legitimately when I say it's a formula, I got to a point where I would hear certain things, but I was like, I'm not going to focus on this because I know my questions later on will help that. That's what I mean by a system. Because a system is something you can change and adapt depending on what situation you're in. A script you have to follow. The system works. So because I knew my system here, I knew how to change it. That's what conversational flexibility is. So with him, I knew I had to change it a bit. But because I changed it, I got the outcome.
I haven't put a dollar figure on it, but I don't know, 10 million in the bank.
Okay. And how far are you from the 10 million you need in the bank right now?
About 8.
2 million, another 8. Okay. Well, if you make $1 million a year, man, you do your taxes, right? Probably get there in like 8 or no, 10, 12 years, if you're smart about it. Mm-hmm. And you want to work another 15 years?
I just figure I looked at I've had other friends, like my dad retired from AMD. He retired at 72 years old. So it was a great age. He has rental houses. He likes what he does. I feel healthy. I feel like I'll probably work for another 15 years. Maybe I only work 10 more, but you know, by the time kids are out of college and things like that, I'm going to work at least 10 to 15 years, somewhere between that time span. And I'd like to maximize the most amount because really, I mean, this is it. So I'm on the twilight end of my career, right? I don't have a 25-year runway anymore. I got a 10-year runway. So that's kind of where I'm at.
Okay. So what would it do for you personally if you made $1 million?
Pacing off. That should have been slowed down when I look back on this call, okay? That was way too fast. It should have been paced slower.
So we hit targets.
Personally, again, I'm not into materialistic things. For me, it's just really about putting enough money away, or I don't worry about retirement. I don't worry about being.
Are you currently kind of worried about retirement or being a burden?
No, I mean, not really. I mean, I'd like to have more put away, but
I don't.
But I think at certain, no matter who you are, there's certain ages you start thinking about different things. Maybe you think about it earlier in life. Maybe it's a little bit later in life. For me, it's a little bit later in life. I was never worried about my mortality, never worried about what was going to happen until just maybe the last year or two. I'm like, okay, well, I'm starting to get to a certain age where the father time's undefeated.
But what do you guys think? If you guys look at the 6 human needs, yes, he wants growth. What is he lacking as well, surprisingly? Certainty. When people have a need, they have a rule. So what is his rule to feel certainty? He needs to have in his mind way more money than he has now. Whether that's our rule or not is irrelevant. But for him, he doesn't feel certain. He thinks he'll be a burden or not make enough money. For him to feel growth, he feels like he had to wait for his kids to get out of the house before he can grow. And now he's trying to grow. So the 2 needs he values the most is growth and certainty.
I'm a big believer that, like, if you're thinking about something, there's some truth in it, right? Like when you look in the mirror and you feel like you're getting chubby, chances are you're gaining weight, right? The same way, like, do you think about retirement? No. Made 33 million in commissions, got divorced, but like that's besides the point. You made good money. Mm-hmm. So it's like when you think about something, there's truth to it. So the question is, like, with the current income and skill set you have, be real with me. Scale of 1 to 10. Let's say 1, you're not there, 10, you are there. How likely are you to get that $10 million portfolio with the current skill set and income you have?
I don't think I'll get there.
Okay. So tell me one thing, right? Because it's like you have a golden medal. You're very clear on your target, right? 10 million is the target. I want to 5x my income. Sweet. But you don't have a fucking line yet. And we need to create that. Because if I put a line behind you 5 years ago, we would have made a lot more money today. So like, what if you don't? What happens if you don't acquire the advanced skills necessary to make $1 million, to get that 10 million retirement, let's say in the next 10, 12 years maybe? And like nothing changes, you keep it the same for another 2 days, 2 weeks, 2 months, 2 years, maybe even another day. What happens?
What happens is it's the status quo, right?
But you've been in that.
Passive, right? Pacing was a bit too quick, just to clarify, right? So I would have slowed that down by like 20% if I could go back in time.
Slow man for 20 years. Like I hate to say it, but like, you know.
Right. No, but that's not, I don't want to be in that status quo.
Watch this.
And like nothing.
It's the status quo, right?
But you've been in that status quo, man, for 20 years. Like I hate to say it, but like, you know.
Right. No, but that's not, I don't want to be in that status quo.
When you push back on people, they'll push back on you, then they get bought in onto it, right? That was why it was so quick. And why was my pacing faster in that? Because I wanted him to give me a bit of a more straightforward answer. That's why I was a bit quicker when I said that, because what that triggered then was for him to be like, I have to answer back. No, I don't want that. Now he's saying it.
Why not though? Yeah, but why not though? Like a lot of overweight people at the gyms. It's weird, but they do.
There are some fat people at the gym.
You know what I mean? Like when I see that they would all just look, fucking get in or get out. You know you're not gonna come in anyway. But like why not? Like what is the day-to-day feeling 3, 6, 12 months from now, staying in that mediocrity and like genuinely not gonna happen? What's that feel?
Yeah, I don't want to be in that point anymore. I'm at a, like I said, I'm at a point where I'd like to hone some skill sets and really identify how to be more efficient in sales and more efficient in, and I don't think it's just in the sales part of things. I think there's some skill sets that I can learn that would make you a better person overall, right? Make you a better neighbor, a better father, a better.
Yeah, my girlfriend.
Okay, so we'll stop there. Okay, completely different. 20 minutes of that was just shifting focus, man. Does everybody see that? Yeah? Shift his focus. What did that change then when we did that throughout the call? It shifted his perspective, which then did what? Shifted his words. Did he leave that call with a new set of languaging and tools than he had entered in? Yes, so that change was created. That was no longer a persona, was it for him? He committed that I need to do something. You guys see that? It went from I need more information to maybe I want to do something to I need to do it. So what are the chances that this guy follows through on the back end? Way higher. So when you guys can get somebody to do it and create that change where it's no longer like a should, it's a must, I need to do it. This guy was, if we look at the premise of it, I'm sure at the beginning of the call, just like me, all of you were like, man, what a dick. By the end of this call, he's a great fucking human being, man. He's a great human being that just needed to be challenged and taught in the right direction. And so when people bitch to me about how like, oh, dude, my prospects don't have money, it's like, how do you know? If you haven't created depth in somebody, how do you know they have the finances? They don't, they're not. Like people will do things that are in their best interest, period. They'll meet their needs in any way. What did I do? I got him to focus on the right thing, which made him feel what? To meet my needs, I have to do this. So then sales training went from maybe to, hey man, I need to really get this done. Because he's a logical guy. So he's a very logical human being, right? So that's why I did scale of 1 to 10, because I wanted him to identify it. So I wanted him to really internalize it by giving him a thing. And I wanted him to say, I couldn't. That's 20 minutes of work, man. But do you guys see the intention, do you guys see the, man, your coughs are loud, brother. Do you see the focus of it, right? It's constantly figuring out the languaging and whatnot. How do I know if I get the right need? I base it off of what they're telling me. So when I listen to their languaging, I can figure out what the need is, right? So with him, I could tell the need was, when he really opened up is when he said like my kids, but like now I want to focus on me, which makes sense. He wants to focus on himself. He's focused on his kids. So he has a need to grow. Certainty was when he talked about money. He makes great money, but in his mind, it's what? It's not enough. There's a burden. There's all this other stuff.